And welcome back to the Five Spot. I'm your host, Donovan McNabb, joined with Armando Segura. And we'll go into things that happened last night on the Thursday Night Football with the NFL, and we'll go into our future games this weekend. But let's hit it right now with the Chicago Bears versus the Washington Commanders. We've seen two teams who are on the downside of where we are success rate of the NFL at this particular point. The Chicago Bears and Justin Fields trying to get back on the horse and get into the win column. Their coach being on the hot seat at this particular time. But more importantly, we've seen an exciting offensive burst by the Chicago Bears and Justin Fields. Now, we can't say the same thing for at least 2.5 quarters from the Washington Commanders, but I was impressed by how Justin Fields over the last 2 weeks have now changed things around in his game. You can tell in his decision-making, you can tell in his footwork, in his drops, and getting the ball out and being accurate to his receivers. DJ Moore having an explosive game Thursday night versus the Washington Commanders, having over 200 yards receiving with 10 targets. And that's what you're supposed to do with the number one receivers. You're finding a way to get the ball in his hands. But what you're seeing is this offense start to evolve a little bit more. Not so much of Justin Fields utilizing his legs, but getting the ball out quickly and going through his reads. Armando, when you seen this particular game, did you look at it more from the Commander side of having not so much success, at least for 2.5 quarters, or was it just the explosion from the Chicago Bears?
Well, I definitely want to talk about the Commander side because, whoa, that was ugly, man. That was definitely bad, and ownership is not pleased. Let's put it that way. But the thing that strikes me now is that 2 weeks ago we were saying, oh my God, Justin Fields. And now, is Justin Fields good?
Yes.
I mean, is he good? He's good?
Mm-hmm. He is good. But the thing about Justin Fields that really separates his play from a lot of other quarterbacks is, yes, we can talk about the ability to run, but I go back to his play in college, and that's what I've seen the last 2.5 weeks. I've seen him getting back, putting that back foot down, getting the ball out of his hands, and allowing the guys on the outside to create opportunities for him downfield. And Komet, yes, people don't probably even know who the tight end is for the Bears, but he seems to find himself open a lot of different times in the last 2 weeks. And I think that's what this offense is when they simplify it for Justin Fields.
So I think context is important. And I guess I judge good by time. I mean, Anybody can kind of step in one and have a great game. Not anyone, but some people can step in two and have a great game. And now they got both feet full of whatever they stepped into. I think that's what, I mean, I want to say that he's turned the corner, but let's be honest here. The Denver Broncos have given up more passing yards than any team in the NFL, and they had a game where they gave up 70 points. So he had 4 touchdowns against them. The Washington Commanders have given up 33 plus points in 3 consecutive games going into last night, and now it's 4 consecutive games, and he had 4 touchdowns against them. So he's good against really bad teams, but what's going to happen when they play, the really good teams? What's going to happen when they play even the middling teams that have a clue about how to, defend the pass? That's my question on Justin Fields and DJ Moore. It's like him and DJ Moore, they go to McDonald's together. Apparently, they go to dinner together. They go to meetings together because they are together on the field. That's impressive.
Well, I mean, as a guy who understands when you bring a receiver over to give the offense an edge of more explosion by having someone that defenses are going to have to game plan for and what that does for the offense. I understand what their thought process was. But then the thought process has to continue through preseason and also during the regular season of featuring the receiver and his strengths. And to me, it just seems like they're just lining DJ Moore up on the outside. Now, DJ Moore is a guy that you can run reverses with. You can put him on shallow crosses, find ways to get the ball in his hand, run a receiver screen with because he has good size and ability to break tackles, and then utilize his speed downfield. And so I just think for the Chicago Bears, even though the teams that they've played, and you mentioned their defense being not that good, it's a matter of who you play. It's a matter of lining up and running your offense and trying to run it effectively. And for the Bears, they needed these 2 games. I mean, it's just like, you're in the desert and you're dying of thirst, and you run into a Propel or some type of flavored drink, and you just got endless Propels. You're just sitting there just drinking. You got to drink what you can. Like, you got to take advantage of the opportunity. And that's what the Bears did, Armando. To me, now going farther, I look at their schedule. Now, you talked about the defenses. They play the Minnesota Vikings, which that defense is not that good. They play the Las Vegas Raiders, which that defense isn't that good. And then they play the Rams. So I look at it in a sense for the Bears, these next 2 weeks can be something that they can build off of offensively to help them go further throughout the season. Now, we're not saying they're going to win 11, 12 games, but if they win, I think if they can win 7 to 8, maybe 9, now we're talking about something different of Justin Fields being a franchise guy.
So you've been there and done that. Tell me what it feels like when you have a receiver that you can throw to him because he's going to make a play for you. And
Right.
There's that, that bond and that kinship. What does that feel like? What did it feel like for you?
Well, the thing that we went into the week with was what is the strengths and weaknesses of the defense? Okay, now it starts with the front, obviously, with the blocking scheme. Will we be able to block up, their front 7, their 6, depending on our protection, and then we look at their secondary. We had a term called, there was always a guy that you sent a limo for, maybe had some flowers in the limo to make sure he got to the game because you were gonna go after him each and every time you could. And so
you got to share the term. Tell me the term. Tell me.
We called him the Diamond Girl. That was our Diamond Girl. So, for those who understand about the men's establishments, there's always a Diamond Girl. So
okay.
we found our Diamond Girl each and every week, and we ended up putting them in the blender. And putting them in the blender is finding out if they're in zone or man by putting our guy in motion. If he follows, you're a man. Oh, we got you. If you sit back in zone and you're sitting back, yeah, we'll go after you as we continue on. But we're going to find a way to put you one-on-one versus number 1 or number 2 receiver. And I just didn't see that at the beginning of the season. And so now you're starting to see DJ Moore line up versus some of maybe the weaker corners or rookie corners. And be able to exploit them a little bit. But it's going to be something they have to build off of because teams are going to now start to sit back and they're going to play man. They're going to play man. They're going to pressure Justin Fields. And he's going to have to get the ball out. When that back foot hits, that ball's got to get out.
So after the game, Donovan, Magic Johnson, who is a minority owner of the Washington Commanders, put it out there. Tweeted it to his 5 billion followers. Tonight, the Commanders played with no intensity or fire.
Right.
He's part of the decision-making group, and he has just thrown his entire, organization under the bus like that. If you're Riverboat Ron Rivera, who is more like a tugboat these days, how do you feel about that? Because, my man, it's like I'm taking fire incoming from an owner. That's bad.
Well, it's bad when any of your owners speak out on social media. It's bad when they speak out, after a game, they get the microphone in their face. after a loss. And as a player and for a team, we take the hit as well because we're the players that are playing. And those guys respect Ron. And I know I've known Ron for over 20 years and a great guy. He game plans great. He understands the game. He's played the game at a high level. And we know that this game is a rocky road. It's up and down. But when Magic spoke, I want to say he spoke out of term a bit. It's too early for that, for Magic. And Magic, we can say he's a basketball player, doesn't know the game. Magic knows about business. And from a business standpoint, that's not what you put out there right now because every game, if it's a high or low, it's going to be going back to what you said, Magic. And Magic's a big figure. And so I look at more the Commanders and where they are. Now, take away that Bears game. Their two losses were against the Buffalo Bills and the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, we're not saying that those are slouch type teams or teams that are trying to get on the horse. No, they're very good teams. And then, yes, they lost to the Bears. But I look more, not so much at the offense, because remember, everyone wants to talk offense and Sam Howell. Sam Howell threw for 388 yards on Thursday. And he's played fairly well in every game, at least 2.5, maybe 3/4. But I look at this defense. No interceptions, no kickoff returns for yards last night. One punt return for 20 yards from Crowder. Only 2 punts. Now, that's a bonus for them, only punting the ball twice. But I just need to see from the defensive standpoint, because their front seven was supposed to be very good this year. We're getting Young back. And so I don't see them getting to the quarterback. I don't see them creating turnovers. The sack value, that they're not sacking the quarterback the way they're supposed to this year. So teams are playing 7-on-7 basically versus this defense. So I'm looking more on the defensive side with Del Rio of say, hey, man, like, what's up, bro? Like, we need to get some turnovers and get the opportunity on offense.
Yeah, I would say to you, they got problems everywhere because you very well outlined Jack Del Rio and his defense not getting it done. Sam Howell coming into this game had been sacked 24 times. So he's on pace before this game to be sacked an NFL record 102 times in the. That's a lot of sacks.
Yeah, true indeed.
102 sacks for the season. And last week I talked to like a couple of NFL personnel people, and they were telling me it's not all on the offensive line. That they have played the same offensive line every single game across the board. Sam Howell is responsible for, a good number of those sacks. True. And you see it last night, right? I mean, slow, not the instinct. Where's the instinct to know that, dude, you've been holding the ball for 3.5 seconds. You need to go or dump or do something because you're about to get sacked. And that's exactly what happened. And that touchdown that he missed right down the seam, right down the middle. Oh, man.
Speaking from a quarterback, you're going to have some misses in games. I understand that. And that was a tough one because that would have put him in great position now going in a more energized position where now they're starting to move forward to come back. But I look at it in a sense for Sam Howell, excuse me. Yes, Sam is holding the ball entirely too long. Now there was one in the red zone where he had a running lane for at least 4 seconds, and he took the running lane, and then he tried to go backside in the A gap and get sacked. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, did you not see that? Especially if you're holding the ball for over 2 seconds and you have the blocking, everyone is dropping in zones. So no one is watching you because he's not known for scrambling. But Sam is athletic. I've watched him in North Carolina. I know he can move. And he decided to move too late and then went backside where the pressure was to give up an easy sack. So that's something they're going to have to fix all as we continue to move forward. But I think the Commanders have a little bit more than the Bears because talent-wise, I like McLaurin. I like Samuels. And I think those are guys they got to feature in their passing game a little bit more. As we're talking DJ Moore, those are guys in their passing game they need to feature a little bit more to improve their passing game. But let's kind of turn the tide a little bit and talk about struggling. How about the referees? Um, are we going to pick up a flag, drop a flag, check it out? Let's bring everybody together. What did you think? There was no penalty. What did you think? What did you see? I don't know. I'm asking you. Is this going to be something we got to go through now that the NFL has been put on notice after the Kansas City and the Chiefs and the Jets game?
Yeah. So last night there's a defensive holding or pass interference, one of those two,
Pass
in the
interference.
secondary. It's thrown, and all of a sudden there's this meeting, right, of
Right.
the officials off to the side, and they decide we're going to pick up the flag because we don't see it. And by the way, that was probably the right call.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
So, of course, New York Jets fans on social media and probably around the country are going, hey, whoa, wait a second. How come we didn't get an official meeting when Sauce Gardner had that phantom holding thing against the Kansas City Chiefs? And it was just like, oh, no, that is holding. We're going with that. And dude, I'm telling you, it has brought up an integrity of the game issue because there are fans out there, and now there's evidence that maybe the officiating in that game, maybe the NFL is it's a conspiracy theory. I wish I had a tinfoil cap, but I don't. That the NFL is leaning toward the Kansas City Chiefs because of Taylor Swift. They want Taylor Swift's team to do well, and they're going all out on the Taylor Swift thing with the putting of her banner on their social media. And there's other stuff that they're doing that's a little wacky with commercials and stuff like that, asking for free commercials and paying for them. It makes Jets fans feel icky. It kind of makes me feel icky. And I'm wondering, is it possible that the NFL is tilting the field in favor of let's make sure that Taylor leaves the stadium happy this day?
Well, I go back to when I was playing. I sound like the old guy on the lawn. Back when I played, Tony Romo had relationships with what was her name, Jessica Simpson, and the other country star who's now married, and I think she has kids. But remember, she became the voice of Monday. Was it Monday Night Football?
Or Sunday night.
Sunday Night Football. And so is the NFL, have they shown patterns of this? Yes, absolutely. And they have. And I think what you're seeing is you're seeing the NFL trying to ride the wave of the success of an artist, and an artist taking advantage of the opportunity to promote her brand. And so could this kind of go on the football field? I'm going to say no, because I just don't see with the action that goes out on the field, it's just mistakes that's made by the referees. I wouldn't say that they look up in the suite and they go, oh, Taylor Swift's up there. Yeah, flag. Like, I don't think that it's so much of changing the game to try to help the Kansas City Chiefs just because Travis Kelce is in a relationship with Taylor Swift. Because if you look in the box, it's so funny. Who was sitting right next to her to get a little bit of that camera time? That would be Brittany Mahomes, and she was sitting there, and she's the hugs and the high fives, and she's getting camera time too. But nobody truly cares about Brittany Mahomes more obviously than Taylor Swift or the 2 or 3 actors that came with her and actresses. So I just think more for the NFL, what they're trying to do, and I can tell you probably from my point of view, is they're trying to ride the back of the brand of Taylor Swift to continue to promote the brand. And I've seen it with Tony Romo and his relationships because we've seen what it led to. And I can tell you one thing just from my side of things, from now being out of the game, they better not take Usher out of that Super Bowl performance and put Taylor Swift in there, or I will be on social media going off.
Well, you know what's interesting is the NFL, it's incumbent upon the NFL to walk a straight line and be right in the middle and not deviate to the left nor to the right, because that's when fandom goes, wait a second, you're helping this team or you're helping that team. This is
Right.
not new that fans are angry when a perceived NFL advantage leans in one direction. I remember 30 years ago, okay, talk about the old guy on the lawn. Other coaches, other players would be angry all the time against the NFL because Don Shula sat on the competition committee,
Right.
and Don Shula would be on the sideline barking at officials, and inevitably the Dolphins were always one of the lowest penalized teams in the NFL, and inevitably if the opposing coach was barking at the official, he'd get the flag. And it
Right.
was like, wait a second. So your guy is on the competition committee. He's fine to do certain things, and his team doesn't get penalized, but our team gets penalized. And Bud Grant hated that, by the way, and always
Right.
used to talk about that. So all I'm saying is that you got to play it right down the middle, or you're going to alienate some people, and people are going to say, this is too much. Even Travis Kelce on his podcast said, we're overdoing it with the Taylor Swift attention. We're overdoing it. It's too much.
Well, I'll say it's probably because of two things. One, his ex-girlfriend, who was on his show, she's getting a little butthurt because now the attention is going over to Taylor Swift, and now she gets a chance to have her little 5 seconds of fame of talking about the relationship she had with Travis Kelce. So it's starting to kind of dig into the wrong bag, so to speak, for Travis, and you don't want that to kind of spill over. And then also too, Andy runs a tight ship. And Andy wants everything in-house, to stay in-house, to focus in on the task at hand. And this is one that no one can control but Travis. And Travis started this whole deal by talking about he was trying to go through channels to get to Taylor Swift, to get her his number and to give a friendship bracelet or something to that effect. And now look where we are right now, and it's blown way out of proportion to an uncontrollable rate where Travis is now not just the football player, the tight end, the joyful, having a good time guy. Now it's basically you're the boyfriend of Taylor Swift. You're no longer the NFL tight end, one of the best tight ends in the game, one of the best that ever played. You're now the boyfriend of Taylor Swift, and no one wants to be that guy.
And what about Jason Kelce, who, like he said on his podcast, well, the NFL isn't used to celebrities showing up to games. And I'm thinking, what are you, a caveman? Where are you living? Dude, I mean, the NFL isn't used to celebrities?
He's
really?
He's a center. I guess I read that he met his wife on Tinder or something. I don't know. But I just think for Kelce's the brother that's trying to stay out of it, so to speak. So I understand where he's going, and great guy too. He's a great guy and one of the best offensive linemen to ever play in a Philadelphia uniform. But I get the brother side of it because it's like, hey man, I'm over here. I got my own family. I'm just focusing on what I'm doing. But as we continue to move forward, because this Taylor Swift conversation will go so deep, and I'm just gonna stop it right now. But we've got some very big games coming up, some real big games coming up this weekend. The Baltimore Ravens versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Philadelphia Eagles against the LA Rams, the Dallas Cowboys against the San Francisco 49ers. The big conversation, obviously, will be more of the America's team, the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott versus Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers. Out of those three teams, Armando, Give me your upset team and a game that you just want to watch as a fan, so to speak.
Well, it's the same game. I want to watch Dallas and San Francisco. The 49ers have taken the Cowboys' soul in the playoffs 2 consecutive times. Shown up Dak Prescott, especially I think last year where he had 2 interceptions in the game. They had that play where Ezekiel Elliott is snapping the football.
For that to be his last game in the Cowboys uniform, that just looks awful. That was just awful.
His
He
last
should have been
play.
rewarded another year because of that. That was just embarrassing. That was just embarrassing. And Kellen Moore, that might have been Kellen Moore's. The flag just kind of went up from McCarthy. Like, yeah, you're done. This just looks embarrassing.
So there is that. Dude, this has got to be like Cowboy up, because that team dominates you. They're 4-0. They're really good.
Yeah.
And you think yourself a contender, and this is going to show us, are you really a contender? Yeah. Or are you just kind of, not really that thing? And
right.
I'm going to go out on the limb and tell you that the Cowboys will win this game.
So with all of that said, and Ezekiel and the famous crop topper and snapping the ball, you're gonna pick the Cowboys. And look, I'm gonna jump on the wagon with you because I think this is a Dak Prescott big performance game. For everyone that seems to find everything negative on Dak Prescott, which he's proven to be a winner. Secondly, besides last year, he's proven to take care of the football and what he's doing right now as well. And what McCarthy has done is try to run the football a little bit more. And I think play action would be something that is vital for the Dallas Cowboys versus the San Francisco 49ers because you have to neutralize that front. You just can't allow Bosa and those guys to just tee off and get back to the quarterback and drop step game. That's not going to work. And I think for the Dallas Cowboys, this is a big game that I think they will win. It's going to be close, but I think this defense is going to take a little bit of hit because Gilmore's not there. Gilmore's there, but Diggs is not there. And I think that's the part of it where it kind of works in San Francisco's favor because you don't have the two shutdown corners out there this game. That's when Samuels and Ayuk and Kittles will play a major factor. And watch them try to put McCaffrey in more of a slot motion versus the linebacker, one-on-one mode to try to utilize that. But I think Dallas comes out. I want to talk more about the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, we've seen the Steelers last week and struggle versus the Houston Texans. I think this is one of those Mike Tomlin stand at the podium, give you about 5 to 7 words that you're going to have to go and grab the dictionary and try to go find the definition of what exactly he's saying. But by the time you understand, you go on the football field each and every day this week. And now your game elevates because you're playing not only for yourself, you're playing for him. That game was embarrassing last weekend. When I seen C.J. Stroud just back there looking like Warren Moon slinging the ball around, every receiver having a big day, that's not the Pittsburgh Steelers type of defense. I expect with a kind of a banged up Baltimore Ravens team, Pittsburgh to take full advantage of that. And for Pittsburgh to win that game, because it's always tight, it's going to be, I would say, more 7 to 10 point win by the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I'm not with you on that. I'm sorry to tell you.
But why? Why?
Yeah. Well, it starts with the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. It's not in any ways dynamic.
Right.
It seems to me that their offensive coordinator, who is under fire, Matt Canada.
Yeah.
there's a reason he's under fire. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's to the point where he's even being misquoted by broadcasters and stuff like that, and he has to correct the record. Dude, you got to correct your offense, because
Right.
it seems to me Kenny Pickett, he's not comfortable in the pocket. He got a concussion. And
Yeah.
you're gonna rise up against the Ravens.
Yeah.
Um, you're losing the quarterback matchup. You're losing the line of scrimmage matchup on offense. I'm going to go with the favorite. That's all I got for that.
Again, the injuries that Baltimore has suffered is going to eventually catch up to them, and that being Odell Beckham being out, Bateman being out, offensive line and Mark Andrews has been out. The defense hasn't been stellar over the last couple weeks to the rate in which we're used to seeing Baltimore be strong. And so I just think this is one of those rival games where it could end up being 10-7. It could end up, you know what I mean? It's one of those games where it's going to be like electronic football. It's like a battery ram. Bam, bam, bam. Like it's just going to go to the one turnover that could change the game. And will it be, I don't even know really if Pickett's going to play, to be honest with you. But I can tell you, going back to the comparisons of the field, Justin Fields and Pickens, you have to find your number one receiver. And Pickens, like when I look at your weapons on the outside, you're not featuring your second year receiver in Pickens, a guy who we've seen dominate one-on-one coverage, and you're not getting the ball to him. You're not getting the ball to your tight ends. You have two talented tight ends that can create mismatches versus safeties. And if it's Canada or if it's just, your quarterback not seeing it, that's something you have to fix right now. And I think this is a game where it's going to be Najee Harris to the right, Najee Harris to the left, Najee Harris in the A gap, Najee Harris in the B gap. Run a screen to Najee Harris, where we haven't seen him be featured in the last couple of weeks either. So I think this is a game that we're going to see Najee Harris get more opportunities and getting downhill versus Baltimore Ravens defense.
One of the things I would say to you is this is every year, twice a year, a matchup of two of the best head coaches in the NFL, in my opinion. I think both of those guys are top 5. And when they go at it, those teams, like, you can tell from the games, they normally, very, very physical, mostly clean, and not a lot of mistakes. The better team typically wins. Somebody doesn't lose. And so, I mean, are those guys not both top 5 head coaches in your estimation?
Oh, 100%. I agree with you. Mike Tomlin is a true winner ever since he's been there in Pittsburgh. I love how he's able to galvanize the troops. He's well respected in that locker room. He's well respected of the alums who have played for Mike Tomlin. And I know Harbaugh. Harbaugh was on staff when I was in Philadelphia when we first started. He was our special teams coordinator. Comes from a family in which his dad was a great coach. His brother has had a lot of success in college and the NFL, and a great guy, great family guy. So, yes, those are two top 5 coaches in the NFL.
Yep, definitely. I just enjoy watching. It's not always a pretty game, but it's always a good game because they got great fundamentals, great discipline.
So it's going to be an exciting weekend. Make sure you get your popcorn ready, order some wings, whatever it is that you need to do to keep your eyes on everything that's happening, because I know Armando's not going to miss any food or miss an appetite to watch any of the games because he loves his food. So make sure you tune in next week when we recap the games that happened all weekend and on Monday night. Tuesday, join us here at the 5 spot. We got a lot more to tell you.